Hello YouTube, my name's Marie. Today we are going to talk about a K-drama which you guys voted for, and that is A Piece of Your Mind. And I loved it! With this series on my channel, this You Pick and I'll Watch, I've committed to giving whatever wins a first impression. So being 3 to 6 episodes-ish. And then I had someone reach out to me on Instagram when they saw that this is the show that won, and they said something along the lines of, the series takes a downward turn after episode 4. So in my mind, knowing that, I kind of want to watch at least to episode 4 or 5 just to see this so-called downward turn. And then something really magical happened. I lost track of the episodes. And suddenly I had watched it all, which is the viewing experience that I truly want with every show that I put on. I want to lose track of my own reality and just enjoy the story. So even though I have watched the full series, don't worry, this is a spoiler-free little review discussion. The series didn't really get great ratings, and I only found out this after the fact when I was doing a bit of research on the show, because I was surprised that it was only 12 episodes. And that's because apparently it didn't get very good ratings in Korea, so the broadcasting station decided to cut it from 16 to 12 episodes. Despite that fact that it didn't do very well during its airing period, I actually think it's going to have really broad appeal. I think people who liked Temperature of Love, My Mister, Something in the Rain, I'll Come to You When the Weather is Nice, and also because this is my first life, I think if you liked any of those shows, I think you'll also find some enjoyment within this. Not specifically any characters or plot-related comparisons, but I just think the overall tone and the very slow, character-driven pace of this story matches with all of those other shows. Now, what is this series actually about? And I'll try and give the briefest synopsis I possibly can because it follows, I would say, 4 strangers whose lives become entangled together because of their shared relationships with one woman. And if I say too much about the actual synopsis of things, I think it'll get too much into spoilers because they've mentioned it throughout the series where they have like a twisted fate, which if you just very clinically try and explain it, it'll sound convoluted. So I will go through our male and female lead and give them a character highlight, and that's basically it. So our male lead is the CEO of a tech company specializing in like AI programs, and their latest invention is this device that is aimed to help those with dementia. They don't really explain it, which is in my mind a bit of a con with the show. They don't explain how they actually program this device to have the personality and memories of your loved ones. So I think if there's a viewer who gets really bogged down by the logistics of everything, that fact will probably drive you nuts, because I was aware of the fact that I didn't think it made a lot of sense and I was confused by it, but I could also ignore it in favor of just watching the characters in the story. Anyways, that whole aspect of the show was giving me like my Hulu Love vibes, which I was not expecting, but I was really enjoying. But an aspect of this device that they explain very well is how they actually get the voice for the AI program, and that is because our female lead is a sound engineer, and we see her working with, I would say, 3 different individuals throughout the course of the show. And one of the women that our female lead works with in the studio and records her voice is that mysterious woman that I mentioned earlier in the synopsis, the woman who connects all of these strangers together. I do want to break down kind of the difference between the first 3 episodes and the rest of the series, because that's where I started to get more of my enjoyment from it, and then on the flip side, that's where that subscriber who reached out started to dislike the series. So I find it very interesting that I liked it more after this thing happens and he likes it less, and that is because there's a very obvious switch in how the show looks. In the first 3 episodes, I would say it's got this kind of blurry, kind of dream-like quality. Like, things are a bit hazy, and they feel like I'm dreaming. Like, I watch this and I feel like I'm in a fever or something, and I wasn't a huge fan of that, if I'm being honest. And then after that mysterious woman dies, the show becomes crisp, and I think it was a very deliberate choice on the director's part. For me, first 3 episodes I was watching because I was like, okay, I gotta watch this. You guys picked it, but I wasn't truly enjoying it all that much because of the hazy filmmaking, and then also because our female lead was not really an active protagonist within those first 3 episodes. She really was a bystander, and they talk about that too in the show, that she just enjoyed being an onlooker. And then when it ended on episode 12, I was surprised because I was expecting this to be a 16 length K-drama because that's the standard length. But also the way it ends is so satisfying. It's so real. I believe these characters continued to live a life without me, which they did because there's 4 other episodes we don't get to see, but I'm not bitter. No strings were left undone. So I really understand why the channel decided to cut it here, because it feels like I just watched a complete story. A story that really actually surprised me. I was surprised at how much I enjoyed the really quiet, subtle moments between the characters, but then I was shocked and very impressed by the intensity of our climax. I think it spans 1.5 episodes. Visually stunning. Like, I finished this series about a week ago, and I am still replaying scenes from the climax in my head. Like, it's such a shame that fan-made edits don't feature this show more. Even though I did really love it, this is not a perfect show. I have probably 2 cons. One of them being that the side characters, we don't get a lot of them within the first 3 episodes, and then suddenly we're introduced to a lot of side characters all at once, and I found their introduction really clunky. And then also, like I mentioned earlier, the device doesn't make a lot of sense, but I am someone who can move past that. I want to end this review on a positive because, again, I really, really loved it. Our leading romance, it's so charming. I wouldn't say it's puppy love, but it's taking itself very slow. There's such great mutual respect between them. So yes, I loved the romance. If I if I was making a list of my favorite romances, I would write this one down because, again, it just felt so real and mature. Not flashy. Most of the stuff about the show is not flashy. Even the soundtrack is very emotional and beautiful. I actually sought it out after finishing the show, which I don't usually do. So much beautiful piano, and then the vocals that we get feel like more raw, like they're not as polished or smooth. So it just, again, it adds to this like emotional vulnerability that the entire series has. Okay, so what is my overall rating for A Piece of Your Mind? I am giving it a 4 out of 5 stars. Thank you guys so much for picking a good one. Like, I am so happy that I found one that you guys wanted me to watch that I thoroughly enjoyed. Like, it was a lot of fun. Thank you. I would not have watched this on my own. Alright, so that is everything from me. I hope you guys have a good day and a good night. Bye.